Hey guys, it's Amber from NotableInk.com, and I'm so excited to share the cards that I made with Simon Says Stamps Outline Winter Floral Background Stamp. This is brand new for their Cheer and Joy release, and we are going to focus on the two cards on the right today that feature my favorite holiday Copic color palette. So up in the right hand corner here, I'm going to link another card that I made with this same color palette about a year ago so that you can check that out. And we are going to be adding some Zentangle or hand-drawn details to this floral stamp today. So we'll go ahead and get started. If you haven't already subscribed, go ahead and do that down below. So I have my background stamp loaded in my MISTI, and I'm going to stamp this in a Copic Safe ink. This one is from Altenew, their permanent black ink. When you use a red rubber stamp like this, you just want to make sure that you take your foam insert out of your MISTI so that this fits in appropriately. And we'll go ahead and start. So I have a Sakura Micron 01 pen here, and I'm just going to start by adding some lines to these floral petals. So I'm adding anywhere between 3 to 4 repeating lines on either side, and I'm going to leave a small gap in the center so that I can add these orbs. So for the lines, you're just going to follow the outline of the petal, the same kind of contour, and keep moving them in. And then for these orbs, I typically will draw one in the center, and I'm sorry you can't see me drawing those, but it's super simple pattern. You just draw one oval in the middle, and then the other ones are kind of nestled behind them. And so for these leaves, I'm going to add just a little bit more detail with a kind of flat S shape going down the middle, and then I'm going to draw a second one that auras it or mimics it. It's kind of like a halo of that first outline. So for the centers of these petals, one of the things that I really like about Zentangle or for any kind of card composition is I like areas of high contrast. So I want to make sure as I'm going through with this design that I'm adding areas of dark black ink. So you can see that I've added it to the center of those flowers there, and then I'm also going to add it to these leaf clusters as well. I decided for the berries that there's a cluster of 3 berries throughout this. I'm going to color those in black, but then I also wanted to be able to color them red like they would be traditionally. So in order to achieve that, I'm going to outline the group as a whole so that I can color in the perimeter in red. We're going to add more contrast by filling in the circles in the center of the flowers. And anytime I fill in a circle like that, I will leave a white highlight, just a really small white highlight for a little added dimension. So I don't color them in completely black. So now we'll go ahead and start coloring. And I will have all of the colors that I use linked on my blog post, but I'm starting with YG01, and then coming in with YG03, and then I'll come in with YG63, or 63 rather, for some greater shadows. And I'm only going to show 1 or 2 of each element because it's the same thing over and over. So here I'm doing YG63, then I'm coming in with my darkest color, YG67, and then blending that out with YG63. And then I believe I blend that out with YG61. So I started with 6.1, came in with 6.7, and then came back in with 6.3, 6.1. Here I'm just showing you the red. And for my reds, I definitely start with the darkest color. I think that my red markers are very juicy, so they are more likely to bleed outside the line. So I'll start with the darkest and then go to the lightest, and I'll just stop there. For the center of the flowers, I'm going to outline the inner petals here and then also do the center around those dark orbs that we have. And that was in BG15, I believe. Then I have BG49, and then I'll blend that out with BG15. So just a 2-color blend for those. And then I'll add just a little bit of a shadow around each one of those orbs and blend that out with the 1.5. So you can see that there. So really simple coloring, nothing too detailed. And then I have the R35, and again, so I'm just gonna color in that outline that I made so that I have a grouping of those red berries. For these little leaves here, I'm gonna start with the BG15, and this will actually be my darkest color, and then I'll come in with BG10 and just blend that out. And then for the inner loop that we created, I will just add a touch of BG15 inside that inner loop for a shadow. I'm going to die cut this out. This is slightly smaller than A2 size. I think it's a 1/4 inch smaller all the way around so that I can mat it with white. And I will pop that up on some fun foam. I've gone ahead and stamped a sentiment, and this stamp set, I want to say it was the ornament stamp set, but I'll have it linked below so that you know the exact name. And I'm just going to trim it down, and it's a really large sentiment strip, if you will. And I didn't want to cover as much of the card panel as it did, so I keep trimming it down. And then I'll just add some black detail to the inside of the letters with that same Sakura micron pen. And here I decide I didn't like how much white cardstock was left at the top of it, so I'm just coming back in and partially cutting this with my trimmer again, and then I'll trim out a bit more. And I'm not sure that I really liked this either, but we're going with it. So I just trim off those two tails so that the sentiment strip is just a little bit smaller, and we'll go ahead and get that adhered. So I have some sticky back fun foam here, and anytime I can color coordinate the foam, I like to do that for just an extra pop of color when you look at it from the side. I popped up my sentiment on some foam tape, and that is it for that card. Now for the other strip that was left over, I went ahead and just adhered that straight over a piece of black cardstock, and then adhered that to an A2 size card panel, used the same sentiments and stamped holidays in red. For each one of those holidays sentiments, I stamped it in the lightest color and then came back in and rock and rolled the ink on the bottom of the stamp to add just a little dimension and a darker color to the bottom, which I felt went with the coloring of our illustration a bit more. For the cards on the left, I stamped those in a rainbow of ink colors and then added some die cut sentiments. I'll have them linked below. The big U die is no longer available, so I'll link an alternative. For the leftover strip on the Let's Celebrate You card, I cut that strip into 5 different pieces, popped it up on Derice double-sided adhesive foam tape, and then spread them out just a little bit to make it a little different than the holiday strip card and add a little more interest and dimension to that card design. And that's something that I do quite often with scraps. So I hope that you enjoyed these cards today. Definitely check out the rest of the release. I'll have a link down below for the full release and all of the supplies that I used today down below. If you enjoyed this video, please consider subscribing and following along. Hit the bell button if you want to be notified of more inspiration. Thanks so much for watching. Have a great day.